has 4 sub-themes. And before giving me the microphone, he said something. He asked the question, are we going to be united in Nigeria? The choice is ours. But we must remember that if we are not united, and there's a Yoruba proverb, Professor Alaba, it says, Adami Omejo, don't shake it. Adami Omejo, so if snakes, if they move together as a group, will anybody get killed? So there lies our answer. So the first sub-theme says shared responsibility is spiritual foundation for national progress. Shared responsibility is spiritual foundation for national progress. So I need time. I need a timer. 5 minutes for each of them, and I have 3 questions for each of them. So to take the first thing is Frater Henry Utopisi. Now, what does the term responsibility mean at a personal level and at a collective level? How do both align with cosmic principle of balance? And what impacts do they have on peace and prosperity within the nation? You want me to go up? What does the term responsibility mean at a personal level and at a collective level? How do both align with cosmic principle of balance? And what impacts do they have on peace and prosperity within the nation? 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I will Grand Chancellor Designate Sorola Mingwewa, it permit me to stand on existing protocol. Thank you. Today, we started with the convocation, and here we are. We also had the address given by the Grand Master and all other individuals who have spoken to. The essence of what we're about is unity. So to talk of unity, it means we have units that come together to form a whole. So I would want to address the first question from that perspective, that of personal responsibility. What does it mean? Let me give my own simple definition of responsibility, and then I evolve to what personal responsibility means. In my own simple term, responsibility is a state of being accountable for someone or something over which we have authority. Now, how do we take this to personal responsibility? Now, in my definition of responsibility, we have being accountable. So that means someone is being accountable for some other thing, and we assume that that person must have authority over that other thing. So in the case of personal responsibility here, the person, this is now an individual, so we are not concerned with the individual unit, and we consider that the individual has authority over himself or herself, and we expect that the individual should if he or she is personally responsible, should be accountable for their actions, or for their thoughts, or for the words they use. So, essentially, personal responsibility means owning the thoughts, the words, and the actions we do on every level of our being. Being personally responsible means that we recognize the fact that the choices we make daily have consequences, that there are outcomes that we must own. When we make choices, there are consequences following from those choices. So if we want a good life, we must make the choices that will lead to a good life. But if you remember, in my definition, I talked about authority, that for you to take responsibility means you must also have authority. Now, the question is, do individuals actually have authority over their choices? That's a question to ask. And here is where the Rosicrucian principles can be helpful. Because having authority over self means that we are in alignment. We understand deeply what our inner purpose or our inner desire.
1.5 minutes left.
Okay. So it means you understand deeply what our inner purpose is, what our inner purposes are, and we are aligned with that inner purpose. And this takes us back to the issue of unity. Because without aligning with the inner self, with our own inner purpose, we cannot claim to have authority. And therefore, choices we make may not necessarily be the best choices, and may not necessarily be the choices we would have made if we are better informed. So I answered the second question quickly. Collective, I started by saying that the unit forms a collective. If you take a football team, for example, a football team is made up of 11 players at any time. These people, each of them has individual responsibility. But as a collective, they have a singular goal, that of winning the match or the game. So the same here, the individual, there to be a collective, for the collective to actually work and attain their goal. The individual must be personally responsible. Responsibility is not clearly defined, and the individual must own their choices. And well, thank you.
I will not summarize, because we all have different perspectives where we listen. So me summarizing will mean trying to bring you to my own perspective. When you listen, you pick what to pick. But essentially, it said the outer man and the inner man must be balanced spiritually. And that choices have consequences at the individual level after this, no more summarizing. Please take your time. Now the second software is from self to service, cultivating responsible citizenship. From self to service, cultivating responsible citizenship. And to handle is our own PRO, RNA Pratatai Olani. And your questions, three, are one, what are the characteristics or behavioral patterns of a responsible citizen? How can we inculcate these in our individual and collective subconscious minds? And how will this translate into selfless service in our daily lives as a mystical, compulsory duty? 5 minutes for the three. And the timer
Thank you very
starts
much.
now.
First and foremost, I also stand on the existing protocol and my courses to all of us. In the first instance, everything is made up of a tripartite nature, the soul, the body, the mind. And it's on the basis of this, especially from the reciprocal perspective, that we always try to feel that there should be certain characteristics that will characterize our character. What is integrity? What is honesty? What is truth? And how can all these be aligned to form unity of purpose in whatever we are doing? Because in Yoruba language, we say, "Ọ̀tún wẹ̀rù òsì wẹ̀rù ọ̀tún lọ́wọ́ fi mọ́," that if you really want your hands to be very clean, that is, there will be need for you to take the two hands together in order for you to have a clean hand. But it goes further esoterically, that it is more or less having a pure mind, and impure thoughts, impure words, impure actions, all these characteristic features. And this is why when you look at the pledge, I pledge to Nigeria to be faithful, honest, and so on and so forth. Those ones are the challenging mystical teachings that are asking us to act, to think, and to say. And I want to mention at a certain time when one of our Christian forebears, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, when he considered what is happening in Nigeria, he said, to no person, no matter how rich, should we mortgage our conscience. To no nation, no matter how powerful, should we mortgage our independence. Ladies and gentlemen, look at these two scenarios today. The money bags and the ones carrying us Babake, and of course, Nigeria has been tagged as a country of taking on particular concern. This is why we now need to think as individuals, as we said in the temple, know thyself. This is ever the purpose of each Christian student. To what extent do you know yourself in order for you to know your God? And according to a Muslim mystic, that everywhere I face, I see the face of Allah. So if we are in this world, we are entitled to always constantly see. And as Rosicrucians, when we pray, we say, God of our hearts, God of our realization. That when we said the invocation this morning, because the heart is the seat of emotion. And that's why Christ said, love your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul. Love God. That is unity, that is responsibility, and that is to always challenge you. Because in the Rosicrucian Palace, we say, today is yes against tomorrow. Are we moving forward in thoughts and conduct? How many minutes left? 5 seconds. pledge to Nigeria, my country. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So we are all listening to him, and we finished in less than 5 minutes. And in terms of service, HGM used to tell us, service is the rent we pay for the space we occupy in God's own territory. So every human being owes it as a duty to render service as a rent. And wherever God has landed you is no mistake. So you render service there. And as the keynote address told us, everything starts with the family. So you render service as a child, you render service as a worker, you render service as a spouse, as a parent, as a grandmother, you render service. So please, service is important. And as we raise our children, let us inculcate in them that they owe it a duty to themselves, to their families, to the nation, that they must render service. We are not here to serve them. Let us stop raising children who believe that we owe them everything. We don't owe them. Beyond the okay, what we owe, beyond that, they must begin to serve. I have begged you to use your 21 seconds. the third something says leadership and collective will, instruments for cosmic order. Leadership and collective will. That's for you. Using the spirit.
Collective goodwill.
Collective goodwill. Collective. Leadership and collective will, instruments for cosmic order. So your questions: what is the role of collective goodwill in establishing harmonious and just governance? What is the role of collective goodwill in establishing harmonious and just governance? How can enlightened leadership manifest in our communities and nation? And how can this enlightened leadership pull together individual goodwill to achieve the desired collective goodwill? That go ahead, I think you are good. So 5 minutes. Thank you.
Our most worthy young master, dignitaries of our father, brothers and sisters, our guests. Now, in answering the first question about the role of collective goodwill in government, first and foremost, we have to consider the individual consciousness, this collective vibration of the community or of the organization or the nation. Many years ago, Chief Obafemi Awolowo himself, a frater, during one of the Kwame Nkrumah's lecture in Ghana, said that the bridges we see, the high-rising buildings that we see, are not development, but evidences of development. So here, what I want to point out here is that goodwill and just governance starts with the individual. What is the thoughts of the individual about his own or her own nation? Does the individual have good thoughts about his country? Because we have to realize that for a country to be justly governed, the individual has a great role to play. Because it is not top down, it is down to the top. In Nigeria, you see government formulating a policy today, and immediately that policy is being formulated, the average Nigerian is saying, no, it cannot work. And so this one takes me to the egregore, if you want to look at it as an egregore, a community or a nation or even an organization as an egregore. For those who are not familiar with that word, the egregore is the collective focused energy of an organization or a nation or a community, as the case may be. Now, I wonder at all if, as Nigeria, we have a collective egregore. But the egregore is very, very important for a nation, for a community, for an organization. Because this is the melting pot of our thoughts and our actions. The collective melting pot of our thoughts and our actions. So, if we want our country to be well governed, our organization, our community to be well governed, it has to start from us. Because it's from the microcosm to the macrocosm. Goodwill starts from you and I. And as prosecutions, we can confidently talk about goodwill because we have a legacy of goodwill. More than 3,000 years ago, in ancient Egypt, our organization started a spiritual institution, a spiritual school, in a town called Elamana in ancient Egypt. For lovers of history, it may interest you that that institution at Elamana started by the Constitution Order more than 3,000 years ago. Many seekers from all over the world came there to study. Of note among those who came there to study is Solomon, the popular King Solomon, who registered there with the name Solomon. So, it started with the goodwill of an organization. And today, our organization is all over the world. Apart from that, including Nigeria, our organization, our members are all over the world and in Nigeria doing good things. Of note that we can refer to is in Nigeria, one, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, Chief Obadogunde, and so many other people, so too numerous to mention. Because of their goodwill, their personal or individual goodwill affected in a positive manner the goodwill of governance at their time. So if we want our governments to do well, if we want good and just governance, our thoughts must be able to affect our leaders, our opinion leaders, our legislators, and even our head of state and our governors positively. Because whatever you put into the air as your thought will go and affect them.
I need to borrow mine because I'm sure you didn't see that I don't.
It's my time.
The three of them will give their views in 2 minutes. Please look at the timer. As soon as you have 0, Once he finishes, he will hand over. The fourth sub-thing says the key to enduring peace and progress. The key to enduring peace and progress. So you are about to recommend. So what spiritual or mystical insights can help to maintain unity even during times of change? And how can we sustain a shared sense of purpose amongst the leadership and citizens? Right over?
Thank you very much. I'd like to put one out. 2 minutes, you said?
2 minutes.
I'm not starting. Can I start now? I want to I recommend you to be called to the deep. Because according to our law, it says he has never considered himself as having a good body of wisdom. But the problem is that those who are in position of leadership and leadership, when they are mixing with, when they are in jobs, mixing with men of shady character and women of easy values. He and people of like minds. They are in their roots, thinking about the problems of Nigeria and how to solve, how to find solutions to them. Only the deep is called to the deep. So the writers simply say, as Rosicrucian students, we should be going deeper into the depth of knowledge about self, about the nation, where we belong, and to see how best to allow the characteristics that characterize our character and character, integrity, convince others that they should be part and parcel of this portal of light, of life, and of love of the divine. So it is.
Sorry, it's like you want
2 minutes.
Yeah, 2 minutes.
Please,
Is already?
24.
Our time
Time out, please.
Okay, yeah, 2 minutes.
Yeah, thank you to sustain goodwill in leadership. We need transparency. Leaders must be very, very transparent. Then, what we call the mirror effect should take place. When the individual in the society contributes to the national quest, that should be reflected in what the government or the community or the leaders do, so that when the individuals see their personal goodwill reflected in the overall goal of the community or of the nation, they are encouraged to do more. And lastly, because of our time, I want to urge all of us as individuals and as institutions that it is not enough to talk about goodwill. What are you doing about it? We follow our works with action. What are you doing at home? What are you doing in your community? And what are you doing for your nation? There are opportunities to serve everywhere. If you want to serve and you petition the gospel, if you petition God, for those who are not our members, the answer will come to you naturally. And don't think you have not made any progress if you have not gotten the answer. In the hospital order, we say that the master within will manifest to you the answer, but the master within never rushes. The master within never hurries, and the master within never arrives late. So, thank you. You can use it for me.
Thank you for the generosity now. I think I want to address the question by looking at the personal and collective perspectives, and then focusing purely on the mystical or First of all, I think we start with the individual. Like my colleague has said, what are you doing as a person? As a Rosicrucian, for example, there are things you could be doing to help yourself align with your own inner self so that you become a better citizen. And if you're a better citizen, your influence on on your own community, on your family, on your place of work will be felt, and people will also enjoy from your own alignment, inner alignment. Then on the national side, we have what is called the merit focus. And I think that if this merit focus can be done in such a way that it's available to not just Rosicrucians, but to other members of the society who can use this to help the community to become more purposeful and to achieve the goal of egalitarianism. Sorry for that last language. Thank you.
Thank you very much, any panelists. Their training is not over. I have grilled them. They have supplied. It's now time for the audience, for the listeners, to now, any area you want to ask on, please, they are available now. So we have the AMORC on this side, but we are stopping at 12:10. So 3 questions from this side and 2 questions, if any, from this side. So, and when you ask the question, you direct it to, or just ask, any one of them will answer. We want to take all the 5 so that, 1, any more from this side, so please come up. Any from this side. 2, any more? And it's when you see students and they don't ask questions, it's that they are not happy. Okay, 3. So please, 3. And please be brief, mention your name. Thank you.
Do we have time for your question? Okay, so more proposals. My name is Guarantee. My question is very brief. Year on year, administration on administration, we have found and seen very clearly that systemically Nigeria is getting better. And therefore, the younger folk, Gen Alpha, Gen Z, blame the decadent society, or decadence in society on the older generations. The blame game isn't really working. So that means that the younger generation needs to solve Nigeria's problems very actively. So my question is, what advice do we have as students? I'm not directed to anybody can answer. As students, what advice do we have for the younger Nigerian population who may not necessarily be members of our order, but who are particular about seeing and actualizing better Nigeria in their time? Thank you.
Your question is heavy. So, go on with it.